Hey guys, how's it going? Mark with the Magazine Collector here. So I've got a little bit different reveal video here for you for unboxing video number 4 tonight. This is the first ever submission of comic books I have submitted to CGC. So this I came across these lot of books with another auction that I recently purchased with a bunch of different magazines in it, and inside the lot was actually 5 comic books, all the same book. So we're going to see 5 copies of the same thing tonight. First time I've ever graded comic books, and it may be the last time. We'll see how this goes. Um, yeah, anyhow, I got these magazines. Or comics. They looked to be in pretty good condition when I got them. I did a little bit of pressing on them, and then started to do a little bit of research into them to see if there was any potential value there. One of the things that I ran into with this particular issue, and maybe it's common in the comic book world, I really don't know. There seems to be 8 or 9 different variations of this same comic book. So that led to me with not a lot of comic experience, with a little bit of trouble trying to figure out what exactly I had and what the potential value was. So after doing quite a bit of research, I figured out that if I can pop some 9.8s, there may be a little bit of value there. So I went ahead and pressed these and got them submitted. So kind of curious to see what we get tonight. On this particular submission, it took 18 days from the time that CGC physically received these books until the date that they were marked as received in my account. So, and then after that 18 days, it took an additional 32 days to be graded. So by the time I get them back to my doorstep, we're going to be pushing 65 days. That's a little bit longer than what I've seen from some of my past magazine gradings. I'm not sure if that's typical in the comic book world, if they take a little bit longer, or maybe it's just the particular time for CGC. Maybe their wait times have just increased a little bit. But yeah, about 65 total days is what this submission took. Um, Let me grab our order number here, and we're going to go to submission number 1. Let's see what we get. $9.6. All right, so here you can see the particular comic that I have 5 of. It is Superman number 75 from 1993. And this particular variation is what they call the third printing, and it is the newsstand edition. Um, Going back to what I said earlier, this particular comic, there is a first printing, a second printing, a third printing, and a fourth printing. And then with at least a couple of those, there is a newsstand version and there is a non-newsstand version. I'm not sure what you call it in the comic book world when it is not the newsstand version, but basically what you have is in place of this barcode down here, you have a little picture or a little logo. So that's how you can tell it's a different copy. And just kind of checking out some of CGC's information here. So they call the variant the third printing, and then they have a field called pedigree, which I guess I'm not used to seeing in the magazine world, that labels it as newsstand edition. So that's interesting to me. All right, so first one was a 9.6. Let's go ahead with number 2. 9.8. Perfect. I love that. 9.8. And as you noticed on that first one, they had a couple graders notes. I think it said spine stress lines. So this 9.8 didn't come back with any graders notes, so that is always a plus. Take a quick look at this guy. I'll kind of blow it up for you. So pretty neat little comic. Again, I'm not into comics, so I don't really know what to look for on these, but yeah, when I found these in my lot of magazines, I thought they were kind of neat looking, so went ahead and got them submitted. Take a quick look at the census here. So this is a 9.8, and it looks like 9.8 total from the third printing. There's 91 copies. So 291 altogether of just the third printing. All right, let's go to number 3 here. Number 3, back to a 9.6. Okay. And on this 9.6, they note spine stress lines. So let's take a quick look at this guy. We'll zoom in. Maybe a little spine stress line right here. Oops. Yeah, I don't see a whole lot, which there probably isn't a whole lot in a 9.6, but don't see a whole lot on the back. A little bit of sales information on this particular book. So when trying to find the sales information, I filtered down just by the third printing. So the other printings, especially the first printing, there is a lot of these out there, a lot of them graded. So the sales information that I have is just for the third printing and the newsstand edition. And actually over the last 3 years, eBay is only showing 3 total sales. There is a 9.8 that sold for $220. There's a 9.6 that sold for $199, and a 9.0 that sold for $120. So this 9.6 here, you know, the comp sale is about $200. The 9.8 that I had earlier was about $220. So, and again, those were, I believe all of those were at least a year ago, if not more. May try to find somebody that knows a little bit more about comics. Like I say, this third printing seems to be a little more rare, and not really sure what the current value would be. So, want to do a little bit more looking into that. All right, let's move on to number 4. Try to get back up to that 9.8 again. Another 9.6. Okay. And the grader notes on this one, same problem, spine stress lines. So at least these issues, like I said, I pressed them myself. At least they're not getting things like finger bends, creases, stuff like that. I mean, that tells you that the pressing kind of did what it's supposed to. Anytime you see these spine stress lines, that's not going to come out with a pressing. That's not going to come out at all. So once you have those, you're always going to have those. But let's see if we can see there, I think, is a small spine stress line. Yeah, other than that, it looks pretty clean. So again, another 9.6. I'm going to kind of dive into the labeling here once. So up top, they do list the variant. So the variant and then slash what they call the pedigree on the comics. So third printing slash newsstand edition. So it's a little bit different labeling than what you see on the magazine side of things. Death of Superman, gatefold back cover. Not real sure what gatefold back cover means. Potentially this right here. Okay. Yeah, again, I'm sorry, I don't know a ton about the comic book world, so we're kind of learning at the same time here. All right, we've got one more to go. Let's go on to number 5. So currently we have 3 9.6s and 1 9.8. So let's see if we can get that second 9.8. 9.4. Well, that's not what I wanted. Grader notes, again, just spine stress lines. So on a 9.4, I would imagine they're going to be a little bit more noticeable. Definitely don't see anything on the front of this guy. Not seeing much for spine stress lines on the back either. So maybe I'll have to wait till I get that one back in person, and maybe it'll be a little bit more noticeable. Sometimes the angle that they take some of these pictures at, they're not quite as evident. But, well, there you have it. So again, we've got, I ended up with a 9.8, three 9.6s, and a 9.4. So not quite what I wanted going in, but I'll take it. So one last thing I wanted to dive into, like I mentioned earlier, so this is the third printing. And I want to talk about one thing with the CGC census. So when you're on your particular issue, so my issue is right here, it's a third printing, I'm going to click into the census. The only census information you're going to see here is for your particular variant. So the only thing I'm seeing is for the third printing. You're unable to see anything else from the other printings. So if you want to find that information, you need to go to the actual census itself and search for, in this case it'd be Superman 75. And then you are able to see the census information for all of the variants. And I'll bring that up here quick. So this is the census for Superman 75 in general. And then here, so the first one, country variant, is actually blank, so I'm assuming this is the first printing. And you can see, like what I was saying, this one's got over 3,000 graded of that first printing. And then we move to the fourth printing with 400. We've got 2,000 of a poly bagged edition. I'm not real sure what that is. And then we've got a poly bagged platinum edition with almost 500. We've got a second printing with 440, and we've got a third printing, which is what my 5 copies are, showing as 290. So there's there's 5 or 6 different variants listed here. And then there's actually more than that, I guess, once you count what CGC is labeling as the pedigree. So again, I know at least for this third printing, and I believe the first printing, from my research, there is the newsstand edition and there is the other edition, which I'm not sure what they call that in the comic book world. And I noticed in the census here, they don't break that out. So out of these 290 that have been graded, I don't have any idea how many are the newsstand edition. So I don't know if my edition is more rare than that other type. So all of that stuff would be interesting to know. Any of the guys watching, if you're big comic book guys, you know a little bit more about this than me, I would definitely take any information that you have. So again, I'm going to have to do a little reaching out and doing some researching and figure out exactly what I have here. I'm not a comic book collector, so all of these will be going up for sale at some point once I kind of figure out what I've got. But yeah, we will go from there. So anyhow, I think that's all I have tonight, guys. I appreciate you watching. It's something a little bit different tonight. I know it's different than the magazines that I normally do. So, and again, it may be the last comic submission that I ever do. So depending what I come across. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a good night. See ya. Bye.